This is McCartney Green and also Susan Milner. And please don't forget to go to mccartneygreen.org or injesusnamemanuals.org. They both take you to the same place. And there's a place for you to make a comment or rate the books. There is also a place for you to contact me, or you could just contact me at mccartneygreen@gmail.com. And don't forget to like and comment under these videos so that more people will maybe see them. That would be fantastic. We are on book number 1, A Healing in Jesus' Name. This is chapter 20. Making it through the processing and questioning, Shelley was ushered into a holding cell. The door slammed shut behind her. There were several other women in the large white room sitting in hard plastic chairs around small tables or in a line along the far wall. Shelley found a spot on the cold tile floor in a corner, sat down in a half lotus, and closed her eyes. I will be strong. This is no problem. I can handle this, were the words running through her tired brain. What are you in for, honey? A voice asked. Shelley opened her eyes to see an attractive woman about 30 years old looking at her. I got in a fight, Shelley answered her simply. The woman looked Shelley over, taking note of the bandages on her forehead. A man or woman? A woman, Shelley said quietly. The cell became silent. So, why didn't they arrest her? Someone asked. Good question, Shelley mumbled. She looked around at all the eyes staring at her and wondered why she'd become so interesting. No, really. Why? Shelley shrugged. I guess because she's in the hospital. You put her in the hospital? The first woman asked in admiration. But the next to speak, however, wasn't so impressed. So, I guess you think you're pretty tough. Shelley heaved a deep sigh, wondering if maybe there was a neon sign that floated just above her head saying, For a good time, pick a fight with me. She sized up the woman. She was large, about 5 feet 8 inches tall and close to 180. Shelley had no desire to get into any kind of a rift with her, so she answered in a slow, deliberate manner. No, it just happened. Were you fighting over a John? A young girl asked. Shelley looked her over. How old are you? I'm 21, the girl answered. Bull, she's barely 18, the first woman said. So, tough lady, you ended up here with the whores, huh? The large woman taunted. Look, Shelley said calmly, I don't want any trouble, okay? The woman stood over Shelley. Well, honey, you gotta know. You're gonna have trouble. Look where you at. Shelley only shook her head slowly. She closed her eyes again and tried to ignore her. The woman nudged Shelley with her foot and addressed her using a profanity. Hey, I'm talking to you. When Shelley didn't answer her, she grabbed Shelley by the shirt and pulled her up. But Shelley was at the end of whatever patience she had left, and she stepped even closer to the woman and spoke softly. Listen, you don't want to take me on. Hey, I know who you are, the younger girl suddenly exclaimed. You're that karate lady that Ricky Kino was talking about on TV. I saw it when they were booking me. Do you know Ricky Kino? Yes, Shelley replied flatly, keeping her eyes on the other woman, who simply let go of her and moved away. Grateful for the apparent reprieve, she blew out a breath, and the young girl continued with Shelley's story. Yeah, some woman tried to shoot her, and this one practically beat her to death with her bare hands. Shelley shook her head. It wasn't like that, Shelley amended. I was just trying to survive. So the other girl had a gun. How'd you take it out of her hand? Was it like one of those martial art things, where you flip it out of her hand so fast she doesn't even know what happened? Shelley smiled. I wish. I haven't learned that kind of stuff yet. Still, you turned it on her. I heard Ricky Kino say it. Man, would it be nice to know how to handle things in a scene like that. Like Scarlett Johansson. If I could do that, I wouldn't have to worry so much about, about my clientele. Know what I mean? So that would be so cool. She don't care, y'all, the large woman remarked. We're just low-down hookers. That's not true, Shelley said quickly, and that got the attention of most all the women in the area. I mean, everyone is important, Shelley said. Everyone? So, what I mean is, if you think you're low down, that's on you. The large woman turned abruptly. Don't be trying to feed us some bull, little Miss Fancy Pants. Shelley directed her words toward the others. I mean, you want to sell your body, that's your business, unless, of course, you're a minor. She glanced at the young girl. But I'm not judging you, but I have to say it's not a very wholesome thing to do. It's not cute. It's not cool. It's not respectful, because disrespecting yourself isn't cute or cool. It's not empowering women like some people think. You don't really have autonomy over your body, really. It's just the opposite, because it does put you in a dangerous situation. Would you do it? The young girl asked. I mean, like, if you had no other choice, would you do it if you had to? No. Be real, another woman said. You don't know what you might do. Let's just say you're homeless, or you're about to be homeless, and you got a kid, and you can't find a job, or the kid don't have no food. Shelley pressed her lips together tightly and nodded. Oh, okay. Honestly, I really don't think so. I don't think I would or even could. I can't even imagine having to do that to make money to live. She shrugged. Then again, being honest, never say never, right? Still, I'm guessing doing what you do, it's got to be pretty hard on the emotions. And I got to look at the bigger picture. I mean, you're offering something to men that they would normally have to work for, right? They would normally have to meet someone and talk to her and take her to dinner and see if she likes him. You're cutting all of that part out. You're taking advantage of something, a man's sex drive, and he's willing to pay good money for something other people get for free. The women nodded. But really, again, being honest, it's like you ladies and all those men who are not in control of their lustful desires. You're ruining the system, like the way God set it up. You're kidding me, right? So what? Are you like some kind of religious freak? She gave a soft laugh. Hardly. I really don't know that much about God, but I know it doesn't seem right. Listen, honey, all men want it, and none of them is in control of it. What did you call it? Lustful desires? She laughed at the term, and Shelley shrugged. Well, some men are in control. I know several of them. My man, my guy, he is very much in control, and it doesn't make him look unmanly. It's just the opposite. It makes him look strong. He's the strongest man I know. How long have you been together? The young girl asked. Almost 9 months. And you've never done it? No. He says that sex is reserved for marriage. Let me let this siren pass. There, it stopped. No, it didn't. Let's see. And you've never done it? No. He says that sex is reserved for marriage, and to show me how much he loves me, we'll wait. The large woman made a snorting sound, and the rest of the room was silent, as if they were having trouble comprehending that scenario. So when you getting married? The young girl asked. Shelley sighed. Well, he hasn't asked me yet. Uh-huh, another woman said with a knowing nod. Shelley smiled. He hadn't asked her to marry him, but he had said he loved her hundreds of times now. She dreamed of the day he would propose. Surely he will eventually. She turned her mind back to the women. So anyway, I'm not judging you, and weirdly, I do care about you. I'd love to see all y'all in a profession where you weren't so vulnerable, and also where what you do doesn't undermine the fabric of a family. Still, I understand being desperate for money just to keep the lights on or to feed your children, so I can't judge you. What you do is between you and God. Shelley smiled again. She'd heard Eric say that and was just repeating it, but it fit the situation perfectly, and she suddenly could see the wisdom in it. New scene. Jason met Justin as he came in the door, and they feverishly went to work to get things straightened out and arrange for Shelley's release. Between the expertise of the two brothers and their nationwide contacts, the New Orleans Police Department never stood a chance. Once the arresting officer had been thoroughly chewed out by his superior, he was only too happy to quickly arrange all the paperwork for Shelley's release. An elderly officer came to open the cell door for Shelley and looked around in disbelief. The women were crying and hugging and promising to right each other. Shelley walked out the door and passed the man with a smile and a shrug. Her eyes searched for Eric's face as she walked out, and when they landed on him, So strong, secure, and happy to see her, she ran and jumped into his arms, wrapping her legs around his waist and squeezing him hard. It was several seconds before he gently set her on the floor. "I never seen anything like it," the older officer said. "She turned that whole jail full of women into a bunch of choir gals in 2 hours. They was crying and bawling and talking about their families. Young lady, you was welcome in my jail anytime." Shelley grinned. "No offense, but no thanks." Justin placed a hand on the top of Shelley's head. "I am in complete awe of you." Eric tilted her face up to him. "I am so proud of you. Like always, you made the best of a bad situation. I love you, Shelley girl." She grinned. "Well, tell you what, I never want to be in that situation ever again. Because being held captive, knowing you're not free to simply walk out the door, it's a terrible feeling. I guess it doesn't help that I'm extremely claustrophobic." "Well, it's like you said a long time ago when I first met you, remember? About the dandelions? You said as long as they're free, they survive. I guess you're like a dandelion, Shelley girl, in so many ways." "What ways?" "Well, you're sturdy like a dandelion and resilient. And I'm sure Casey Jones finds you very hard to get rid of, like a dandelion. And you're as bright and beautiful as sunshine, just like a dandelion." She hugged him hard. "Oh, Eric, I'm very impressed with your analogies, but right now, I am starved." He laughed. "Well, let's get you cleaned up, and we'll go eat." As they exited the police station, the arresting officer approached Ricky. I saw what you said on TV, and I just want you to know that I appreciate your not making me out to look so bad. You understand I was only doing my job." Ricky's lips pressed tightly together. "Yeah, well, you can kiss my—" He stopped himself and sighed. "I mean, yep, I understand. Next time, just try thinking and listening before you make an arrest. Cops get a bad rap, so show them what a good cop looks like." Back at the motel, Shelley sank into a hot bath and let the day's happenings leave her mind to be pondered another time. All she knew was she was hungry and extremely tired, and her arms and legs were achy and sore, and she had a headache. And after a thorough scrubbing, she dressed and hurried to Eric's room. "Let's go. I'm starved." "Yes, ma'am," Eric laughed. Minutes later, the five of them piled into Eric's rental car. "Where to?" Eric asked Shelley. "I want junk food." "Greasy, fattening junk food," she said, knowing that after what she'd been through, Eric would be only too happy to indulge her. They decided on a local fast food hamburger joint. Shelley wolfed down her cheeseburger and chocolate shake and then batted her eyes at Eric. "Well, that was so good, but I think I need something else." "What else?" "I don't know. Let me go peruse the menu." "You need money?" "Nope, I have the 50. She glanced at the others, silently daring them to make a smart comment. "Anyone else want anything?" "Sure," Ricky said immediately. "Well, what do you want?" "Surprise me." She left them, headed for the counter, and came back a few minutes later with an assortment of goodies: fries, apple pies, ice cream sundaes, and large chocolate chip cookies. And Eric's eyes opened wide at the sight of all the food. "Just this once," Shelley said with a smile. I've had a hard day. Besides, it's not all for me, it's for everyone." And as they ate, they asked her more details about the fight with Casey in the locker room and how it ended up the way it did. She filled them in, and as she did, their respect for her grew. The men continued to talk, but Shelley, growing weary, rested her head on her arm and only listened. Their voices were melodic, soft yet strong and deep. She reached over to touch Eric's hand, lifting it and playing with it as if it were a toy, opening it, measuring it against hers, and then closing it back to a fist. She brought it to her mouth and kissed his fingers, and this got his attention for a moment, and he rubbed the back of his hand against her cheek before he went back to his conversation, which had turned to Korean. She continued playing with his hand, becoming absorbed in its strength, its shape, its power. She spied a grain of salt on his fingertip and brought it to her mouth and licked it clean. She looked down at her. He looked down at her, and she smiled up at him, and then closed her eyes. She truly was exhausted. Sighing deeply, she opened her eyes to play with Eric's hand again. Several times she dipped his fingertip in some salt that was in the bottom of the little cardboard container her fries had come in, and then licked the salt off his finger. In her own sleepy world, she played for a while until she noticed that the men's conversation had silenced. Looking up, she found them watching her, comical expressions on their faces, except for Eric. His expression was that of raw desire. It reminds me of tequila shots, Ricky said. Tequila shots? Shelley asked. Yeah. You lick the salt off the back of your hand before you take the shot. Though I think following the salt up with a shot of tequila has a lot better impact. Eric cleared his throat. I don't know about that. He touched her nose. Are you ready to go back to the motel? Shelley's eyes opened with sudden excitement. No, actually, there's something else I'd like to do. You're kidding. What? They all asked. I want to go by the hospital and check on Angel. Eric smiled. Well, it's a nice thought, hon, but it's 11 o'clock. I'm sure visiting hours are over. Besides, you have to be exhausted. I am, but I was sitting here thinking about Angel there at the hospital all alone. No family, no friends. I don't even know enough about her to call someone for her to tell them she's been hurt. I don't think I'll be able to sleep until I see her, she said steadfastly. Well, I love that you're such a compassionate person, Shelley, but still, they won't let us in to see her this late. Shelley pouted, moved the plastic tray, and brushed the salt off the table. She sat silently for a moment, then smiled a mischievous smile. We could sneak in, she said, comically raising her eyebrows. Ricky grinned. Cool. How? Jason asked, becoming interested, much to Justin's amazement. Shelley shrugged. Well, how hard could it be? Create a distraction and I'll sneak by. Jason was smiling now, and Justin looked at the three of them incredulously. Have you all lost your minds? Shelley, didn't you just get out of jail? Are you so anxious to go back? She laughed. They like me there. But really, Justin, don't be such a worrywart. If we get caught, all they'll do is throw us out. They won't send us to jail. Justin shook his head. Tell her no, Eric, or I will. Shelley stood and put her arms around Eric's neck. Please, she said sweetly. He pulled her arms away. I don't think this is a very good idea. The responsible side of me wants to say, no way. Shelley frowned. And who is responsible for poor Angel? Have you ever seen her with anyone? Have you ever seen a family member or teacher with her at a tournament? Well, no, I haven't. So what if I promise that we'll go see her right after breakfast? She touched Eric's face and leaned close. What if she's lying there in the dark, all lonely, unable to sleep, worried or even scared? Eric sighed. Okay, I give. We'll go see Angel. Shelley clapped with delight, and they decided Ricky would strike up a conversation with the nurses and lay on the charm, while Justin would pretend to be a new father who couldn't find his way back to labor and delivery, and Eric, being a poor actor at best, was told to tag along and keep his mouth shut. And while those three had the nurses occupied, Jason and Shelley would find Angel's room. New scene. The plan worked like a charm. Justin ended up speaking Korean to pretend there was a language barrier, and one of the three nurses took him and Eric to the elevator herself, while Ricky Kino flirted with the other two, and Jason and Shelley made it easily to Angel's room and peered over the bed railing at her. Her eyes were closed, and a monitor sounded her heart rate. An IV tube was connected to the top of her left hand. I'll stand watch by the door, Jason said softly as he moved back to peer out the tiny window. Angel opened her eyes at the sound of his voice, and Shelley smiled at her. Hi there, she said softly. Shelley? I thought they put you in jail, she said in a weak voice. They did. I broke out, Shelley joked. Angel smiled. What are y'all doing here? She said slowly. We snuck in to see you. How are you feeling? I'm fine, really, thanks to you. They got me all doped up with some painkillers. She paused. I can't believe you went all this trouble to come and see me. Well, of course we did, Shelley said as she squeezed her hand. What are friends for? A tear ran down the side of Angel's face. Friends? That sounds wonderful. Shelley squeezed her hand. Angel, is there someone I can call for you? A family member, maybe? Angel shook her head. No, there's no one. But there must be. There's no one. Shelley didn't want to push it. Okay, well, anyway, there's someone else here to see you. She exchanged places with Jason. How's the patient? He asked softly. She's much better now, Angel smiled. Shelley listened as they exchanged timid bits of conversation, and she realized that Jason was sweet on Angel. There's a nurse coming down the hall, Shelley warned. They were quiet a moment until she passed by. We'd better get out of here, Jason said. We'll be back in the morning, Angel, he whispered. Get some rest and get better, and know that we'll be here for you, and you are not alone. He bent over and kissed her forehead. Oh, my, Angel cooed. I imagine I won't sleep at all now. Jason smiled at her, and Shelley leaned over the rail. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye, Angel, Jason whispered as they left the room. They walked brazenly past the nurse's station. 3 startled nurses looked up, and Shelley smiled at them. Oh, hi. I think we made a wrong turn. Is this the way to the elevator? Oh, there it is. Gosh, I just get so turned around in these places. Well, thanks. Have a nice evening. The nurses smiled and nodded as Shelley and Jason stepped on the elevator and burst out laughing. Shelley jumped into Jason's arms with excitement. We did it, she squealed, and that was fun. Jason held her away for a moment and looked into her eyes. You know, Eric found a real treasure when he found you. I could say the same thing about you, she laughed, hugging him again as the elevator doors opened. The sound of men clearing their throats broke them apart, and Shelley turned and threw her arms around Eric. Oh, thank you, Eric. Oh, man, I'm having so much fun. And guess what? Jason's got a new girlfriend, she sang. Oh, really? Who? Angel or you? Eric asked, pretending to be jealous. Oh, Angel, of course, she laughed. Don't you know there's no one else for me but you? Shelley stood on her tiptoes to kiss him and then turned away quickly, jumping up and down like a child. This was too much fun. Let's do something else. They shook their heads at her as they exited the hospital. I know, Ricky said, his voice full of excitement. We could go knock over the nearest convenience store. Shelley jumped on his back. Let's do it. Ricky galloped her around the parking lot and circled back, and Justin pulled her off Ricky. I believe we've created a monster. Oh, really, Dad, Ricky agreed. I've seen the symptoms before. She's becoming an adrenaline junkie. Well, what would Mark and Joey say if they knew what you've done over the last few days? Justin asked her. Well, they're not going to say anything because no one is going to tell them, Shelley answered firmly. And then she pouted. I've been a mom for so long. Why can't I have a little irresponsible fun? I married so young. I missed all that. You can have all the fun you want, Eric said. The 4 men exchanged glances. Eric actually did worry how Shelley would handle going back to a normal daily routine after all the excitement. Given her history, depression was a distinct possibility. As they drove home, they turned their conversation to Korean and discussed the best way to handle Shelley's fragile emotions. She'd been through so many traumas over the past few months, they were sure her state of mind was suffering more than she realized. In the car, when the men began speaking in another language, Shelley rolled her eyes and talked aloud to herself. Well, there you guys go again, leaving me out of the conversation. I suppose you're talking about me, or maybe you're telling dirty jokes. It doesn't matter. I don't care what you're saying anyway, she announced loudly. Really? It doesn't bother me that you exclude me from your conversations. Ricky put his hand over her mouth while he made a point to his father, and she pulled his fingers back until he moved his hand. Fine. I'll be quiet so you guys can go on being rude. Shelley, Eric said. What? She answered madly. I love you, he said softly. I love you too, Justin added. I love you too, Jason said, and Ricky smiled at her. Ditto. She smiled back. Ghost. New scene. Shelley slept like a rock. In the early morning hours, she turned on her side, smiling as she realized Eric was still in the chair in her room where he'd been as they talked last night. She watched his chest rise and fall with each breath. Feeling mischievous, she giggled softly. Perfect payback time. She quietly rolled out of bed, went to the bathroom, filled a glass with cold water, and tiptoed to the chair. He made a soft groaning sound, and Shelley knew that she needed to act fast before he woke. She dumped the entire glass of water on his head. Eric sprang up, sputtering. You rat, he barked as she dashed back to the bathroom. Eric grabbed a towel and sat on the bed, waiting for her to come out. A few minutes later, she emerged, completely dressed, and quietly walked to the door and opened it. Shelley, where do you think you're going? Out, she purred. Out? Oh, no. You come here right now. We have some unfinished business, he commanded. She smiled innocently. Remember the threats I made to you yesterday? She paused for just a moment, giving him time to recall. Well, consider threat number 1 fulfilled, she giggled as she started to close the door. Well, wait, he said loudly, and then let his body fall back on the bed with a sigh. Okay, you win. But you still can't go out alone. Now come in and close the door. She stuck out her tongue. No can do. I'm going out. Bye. Shelley, I'm not kidding now. It's not safe. She turned her back, smacked her rear, and ran out, slamming the door behind her. Eric sprang from the bed and immediately tripped over the shoes he'd taken off last night. He quickly tried to put them on. Shelley ran directly to Ricky's room and rapped on his door. Ricky, quick, open the door. Ricky came to the door, startled. What's wrong? Someone's after me, she said breathlessly. Quickly, he pulled her in and closed the door. Who? She laughed. Your dad. Ricky collapsed on his bed as Shelley ran around the room in a frenzy. Where's the ice bucket? Oh, here it is. Good. It still has a little ice left. Shelley filled it the rest of the way with cold water and went to the door to wait for Eric. Ricky, open the door. Hurry, Eric said urgently. Ricky rose up on his elbows to watch Shelley's antics. She opened the door and doused his father with the cold water, taking his breath away. That's 2, she giggled. He lunged at her. She shrieked and darted onto the bed where Eric cornered her. Oh, really good ninja-ing there, Eric, Shelley teased as she jumped up and down on the bed. Don't you think you should have seen that coming? Jason and Justin heard Shelley scream and bounded from their beds. Finding Shelley's room empty and the door ajar, they pounded on Ricky's door, and Ricky stood. Really, you two, just keep right on doing what you're doing. I'll get the door, no problem. Ricky opened the door and the 2 brothers charged in. What the heck is going on? Jason asked. Ricky gestured toward Eric and Shelley. Dad and Shelley are playing. Ricky, Justin, and Jason sat down on Ricky's bed, their heads in their hands, and watched Eric and Shelley play as they recovered from their heart attacks. Shelley jumped on the bed as Eric grabbed for her. Hey, Shelley, Ricky called. Did you decide on this plan all alone? What are you talking about? She asked, dodging her pursuer as she spoke. Well, first you throw water on Dad, and then you back yourself into a corner. I mean, did you think up that strategy all by yourself? Ricky chuckled. Oh, Ricky, I thought you knew much more about women than that, Shelley said. What are you talking about? Silly boy. Getting caught was part of the plan. Don't you know that women allow men to catch them so as not to bruise their inflated egos and make them feel manly? Ricky laughed. No, I don't know that. Well, wait a minute, Eric interrupted. Are you trying to say that I couldn't catch you if you didn't let me? I beg to differ. Well, go ahead, beg, but it's true, she argued. Sorry, Shell, but I can catch you any time I please. I seem to remember, Shelley answered slowly, just a few days ago, all 4 of you tried to catch me all night long and couldn't do it. Oh, the others mumbled. Oh, Shelley, you should never have brought that up, Eric chided. I think we still owe her for losing an entire night's sleep, don't you boys? Justin asked. I'm all in, Ricky agreed. The 3 men sprang at her, grabbed her, and held her down on the bed. Ricky held his hand over her mouth to muffle her screams, while the others performed torture by tickling until tears were running down her face. Finally, after much begging, they let her up, and she crawled like a wounded kitten into Eric's arms, cuddling up close to him. Well, I suppose you're letting me hold you now and protect you from them, Eric teased. Shut up, she said with a pout. Eric stood and pulled Shelley up and started toward the door. Shelley and I have some things to talk about. I'll meet up with you guys at breakfast, he said as he left. He turned back. Oh, and Rick, will you do me a favor and pack up for me? Sure, Dad, Ricky answered sarcastically. I'll be happy to. And I suppose you want me to wash... Oh, never mind. That was the butler guy from Arthur, Shelley called back with a giggle. New scene. At breakfast, the group of friends said goodbye to each other. I'm going to miss you guys so much. I wish we didn't have to leave, Shelley said softly. Ah, sweet Shelley, Justin began. You know, I've truly grown to love you, and that makes me forgive you for taking Eric so far away from his home. I'll miss you both, but I do have a life of my own. I have a much-neglected law practice and a girlfriend who's mad at me for seemingly spending more time with you than with her. I didn't know you had a girlfriend, Shelley exclaimed. Why didn't you tell me? You never asked. Justin doesn't talk about his girlfriend because she's mean, and he just keeps her around for, well, I'm not really sure. It's definitely not for good times, Jason said. Shelley's eyebrows rose as she looked back at Justin. One of these days, little bro, I'm going to take you down, Justin threatened, then turned to Shelley. She's not mean, he argued as Jason nodded his head frantically. She's assertive. Why don't you bring her along next time? Shelley said she'd probably like to be included, and I'd love to meet her, Shelley added as Jason's head changed directions. Well, I might just do that, he answered as he knocked his little brother in the forehead. She turned to Jason. What are your plans? Jason frowned as he rubbed his head. I'm sticking around for a few days until Angel is released from the hospital. I'll make sure she gets home okay. I have some seminars scheduled at the end of February and first week in March, but after that, you'll see both me and Justin again because we're flying into Atlanta to see your March tournament. Shelley, oh goodness.
This is a reminder.
I forgot to turn that off.
This is a reminder. Walk s'mores.
Walk S'mores, that's my doggy's name. Guess he looks like a marshmallow and graham crackers. Okay, let's see. Shelley clapped her hands together. Good, I don't think I could fight if you guys weren't there. No. Yeah. That's not true, the teacher spoke. You do what you have to do. The fight comes from you, not them. Not Ricky, not me, you. Yes, master, Shelley quipped. I suppose you have to fly out today, too? Shelley asked Ricky. Actually, yes, he said with a smile. I have a demo in Las Vegas and have several TV appearances to make to promote the new movie. So I guess it will be only you and me and the kids, Eric stated. And that may not be exciting enough for you, but Shelley stopped him. Oh, I think I could manage with just you. After all, you were the one I allowed to catch me, weren't you? Eric smiled. Watch what you say. Next time I may not protect you from these hoodlums. Well, as I recall, you didn't do much to protect me this time. But I did take you away and make it all better, didn't I? All eyes turned to Shelley. Methinks the lady blushes, Ricky sang, but alas, the hour grows late, and fly I must to the castle of yonder kingdom. Adieu, adieu, parting is such sweet sorrow. They laughed at Ricky's acting as everyone said their goodbyes and went their separate ways. At Shelley's insistence, she and Eric headed over to the hospital with Jason to see her new friend. She chatted with Angel, telling her about her experience in jail, which Eric and Jason hadn't heard yet, and the story to them was fascinating, and Angel seemed profoundly touched by it. Shelley worried that something she said had upset Angel, but then Angel smiled and changed the subject. Well, just 3 more months until the mark, Angel reminded Shelley. Are you nervous? Shelley jerked a thumb at Eric. Well, he doesn't really give me time to be nervous. But to be honest, I am a little worried about making my black belt before June. She's being tested in May, Eric clarified, and she's worried, of all things, about breaking boards, though I'm sure she'll make it. Wow, black belt so soon. I've been a red belt for forever. Why? Jason asked, if you don't mind my asking. Angel shrugged with a smile. I guess I sort of gave up. I lost direction. I started taking taekwondo in college when they offered a self-defense class for the students after a few female students had been assaulted. I met a guy in the class. Excuse me. I met a guy in the class and we started dating. He was doing the tournament rounds while he got me interested in it. It was fun, and I made lots of friends, and some of whom you met in Atlanta. I was having a blast, and then me and the guy broke up, and I stopped going to class, so I never progressed past red belt. Still, I was having too much fun traveling around and partying and going to tournaments. Lately, though, it doesn't seem like so much fun. It feels kind of empty. Who did you take from? Eric asked. Don Price. He has 2 studios in Mobile. Do you know him? Eric shook his head. The name is not familiar. So your home is in Alabama? Yes, just north of Mobile. Do you mind if I ask how you funded traveling around doing tournaments? Shelley asked. Oh, no, I don't mind. My father pays for it all. Oh, I thought you said there is no one to call. Oh, I did, because there isn't. He's an importer or exporter or something like that. I don't ask too many questions because, frankly, I never wanted to know because I'm pretty sure he's crooked. He's a wheeler dealer. He's rolling in the green stuff, and he travels the world, and at this moment, I have no idea where he is. Well, surely there's someone he works with who knows where he is, Jason said. Yes, his assistant. His young, beautiful assistant who is the same age as me. But she would never tell me where he is. Look, bottom line, he doesn't care where I am or what I'm doing. I just get a monthly stipend and a card at Christmas. What about your mom? Shelley asked. My mother died when I was born. I'm told my maternal grandparents haven't seen me since I was 1. My paternal grandparents don't keep in touch with their own son, much less with me. I have no brothers, no sisters, no aunts or uncles that I know of. I think my father has an illegitimate kid or two, but I don't know who or where they are. I am alone. Well, not anymore, Shelley said softly. You have us. Angel blinked as the tears that formed. Why? I mean, really, I haven't been very nice to you. Shelley smiled. Oh, we may have gotten off to a rough start, but as Eric says, that gets all the bad stuff out of the way. Angel nodded. So, no more talk about my father. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, your black belt. So, Master Kino, do you think she'll make it in time? If she works hard once we get back to Atlanta and sticks with a strict routine. Shelley rolled her eyes. Eric is big into self-discipline, routines, and schedules, she explained to Angel. Well, it must work. You've come a long way in a short time, Angel admitted. See there, Shelley, Eric teased. Someone appreciates my teaching techniques. Jason jumped in. Well, speaking as one of your students, it's not that we don't appreciate your gifts as a teacher. We just sometimes wonder if we will survive your methods. Well, my methods are in place to bring about your survival, Eric returned. Yes, master. Both Jason and Shelley brought their hands together and bowed their heads as Angel laughed. Psalm chapter 27, verse 1. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? And that is the end of chapter 20. Let's see. Boom.